I am a big proponent of gratitude, and it shows up in so many forms outside of thank you. I find gratitude in eye contact with strangers as I walk down the street.
Forgiveness of myself and others is one of the key elements to life happiness. Gratitude is the other.
Conversation is that partnership, your go-to resource designed to break the inertia and refresh your perspective so you can start making moves. Here is your host, an insightful truth teller who serves as the catalyst for getting the right work done and who asks the questions that truly matter. Jess Dewell.
Today on the Bold Business Podcast, you are going to hear an incredible conversation on so many levels and so many fronts. First of all, I'm going to start with what you'll take away. The things I want to highlight that you will take away, and it's only the surface, include in your business, it is so important to find something that is being done poorly and not do it better, do it extraordinarily. Second, you can start right where you are to make a big difference because that extraordinary, that incredible is the level that is necessary to create your company's future. And the third thing are flaws. We all have them, and how we interact with them, how we show up to them, and most importantly, being able to forgive ourselves for them and bring all of us into situations is what makes lasting business people so that businesses can continue to create and evolve. Tom Gegax and I spent some time talking, and one of the things I will tell you is that I want you to know right up front, he has a voice disability, and he explains that for us at the beginning of the conversation. It won't stop you from listening because the three things that I talked about, the importance of what we're doing and how we're doing it, the importance of disruption and what makes it happen, and where we get to really play and thrive, as well as forgiving ourselves so that we can meet others and do great things. All of that comes down to, and he came across my radar because of his documentary, Confessions of a CEO. I will tell you, this film can be streamed on Amazon by searching Confessions of a CEO, or you can visit confessionsofaceomovie.com and find one of many places to stream. I didn't think our conversation was going to go the way that it went. We were able to talk really about the becoming, who we are, where we're going, and what it takes to actually get there without the manifestations of trouble. And not to say that we can remove difficulty, but that we can use that difficulty and embrace it without having it interfere with our lives in a very negative way. So I will tell you that the chairman of the Gramercy Fund, a socially responsible venture capital firm, they invest in over 100 companies that are doing great things in the world. This is what Tom does. Tom is also a writer, a director, and he is the body of work. The information stems from him in this documentary, Confessions of a CEO. The stories he tells, the reality of the situation, what we say we're doing as executives, running companies as effective leaders with great organizations, and what actually happens is still incredibly far apart. That became clear to me in our conversation. Regardless of the world stages he has been on, the people that he has interacted with, like mentoring former Vice President Al Gore and working with Deepak Chopra, having best-selling books where he's working with companies big and small. The question here is, what can you take away now from exactly where you're at to make those ripples better? And I'm excited for you to have this conversation available to you both in listening form and in visual form. So here is my conversation with Tom Gegax. Tom, we have had a couple of times where we've had some really good conversations. And in deciding to do this podcast, there was something that was very clear to me and to you, that it was important that we set up beginning of our conversation. And that is your voice. I want to know more from you about your voice and why it is the way that it is today.
My voice changed 10 years ago. 35 years ago, I had radiation for cancer. And for 25 years, it was fine. I was a national, international public speaker. But then 10 years ago, my voice started getting more and more challenging, and where it now is what it is today. And that is the result of radiation damage from the throat area. I applaud you for having someone with a voice disability. I still have my same mind and my same mobility and movement. Sometimes people, I've learned, when someone has a voice disability, they try to think that their mind is affected too.
I do. Stereotypes are hard to change.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you were here because we get to do that with our words and our conversation today.
Right.
Yes. And it's true. I think that's really important. Our brains are one piece. Our mouths are another. It's almost like our hands or our feet. I don't know about you, but I've sprained an ankle and it is debilitating. And hopefully it goes away for most of us. Usually it does. And the time it does not change what goes on between our ears, does not change what we feel in our hearts. It just changes how we show up in the world, which, in my opinion, is the way we're supposed to be here right now.
An extreme example of voice is Stephen Hawking.
Yes, that's a
One of the
great
most
example.
Intelligent people in the world. And he had to have that,
The computer, huh?
computer speaking for him.
Yes. Yes. And the fact that we can communicate and the fact that we are able to do this, to your point of Stephen Hawking, this is amazing. And I actually love this because one of the conversations Tom and I had was about how they used his voice in his documentary, Confessions of a CEO. And I found this fascinating. So when you decided to do this documentary, Tom, you actually already had, your voice had started to change. Was it during the process or was it before the process that your voice changed and your disability arrived?
One of the reasons I did the film was before that I've had best-selling books, but the way I wanted to have my voice now is through a film. And with artificial intelligence, it changed. It was able to make my voice, my previous voice, so people didn't tire of hearing my voice throughout our docudrama.
It's interesting because when we can be creative about technology and when we can apply it to being able to get our message out there in a way that will be received and perceived the best way possible. Did you come up with this? Were you like, yes, let's use AI and see what we could do with my voice? Or did that come from somewhere else?
No, it came from the life of our co-director and co-producer. Okay. And as she watched an earlier run, she said, you have got to get have AI. And he said, 11 Labs is doing great stuff. So I credit Alex for that.
I think that it's fabulous to have found a technology and to do that because as I was watching your documentary, Confessions of a CEO, one of the things that I found myself doing was, oh, how cool is it that I am hearing a voice of Tom from a time he's actually talking about?
Yeah.
Isn't that so? Okay, and now we're going to switch gears just a little bit. We're going to switch gears because when we talk about what this film is about, when we talk about the message behind it, it is actually really powerfully important today. The audience of the Bold Business podcast tends to be small companies to mid-market companies. And you were the CEO and you were achieving, I'm going to call it world domination, Tom, in your business. And I want to know, did you fall into it or was it calculated?
It was calculated in terms of me seeing something that wasn't being done well. People would say, why did you get into tires and automotive repair? I said, because it was dishonest, it was dirty, it was unprofessional. And I didn't want to get into something that was already being done very well.
Okay.
So my niche for the planet was improving that area, taking an experience that some people would think was slightly above a root canal and making it, we ended up having it where people that came into our store, they didn't smell tired. We had piped in, we had games for kids, our people were in dress shirts and ties. It was a totally different experience. Our employees, teammates, we had people go around and give them massages in store. And we taught yoga. This is all 35 years ago.
So you found an opportunity to do something that connected people more around something they really needed to just have done.
It was a blasé, boring, unfun thing that we made into people. Wow, this is really, really neat.
Do they still make them not smell like tires?
No.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever experienced that.
The company that bought us, Bridgestone Tire Company, although they committed in writing, actually, they had me on a 5-year employment to help them through, not only in our store, but throughout, have that philosophy.
The biggest acquisition that I ever went through was not that big, but it was big enough that I was surprised when the ink dries, the game can change. How amazing is that?
Yeah, I knew that was the potential. And that's still right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't ethical. They had a loophole. It was legally right, but it wasn't morally and ethically right.
I'd like to talk about that in a minute because I think the timing of your message, the timing of what you're putting out into the world right now matches so many things. And it's easy to find models that use loopholes, that stick with technicalities. And when it's advantageous, you have to look at the advantageousness. And I'll speak from my perspective, and I'll be interested to hear yours, is that easy road with those loopholes and those technicalities. It ends up being about money, and money goes to just a few people. And it very rarely in those particular exchanges is the money about the greater good, is the money about that ripple effect that goes out. And I know you having a breadth of experience that's a lot bigger than mine. I'm curious. It feels like it. Does it feel like it's circling back around, or does it feel like it never left?
What do you mean?
Because I have this image where, and this is only from the reading that I have done in all of the business books and things that I have read over the years, is that at one point, corporations, big corporations, it was heavy. They had a lot of regulation that went in their favor. There was a lot of law that went in their favor. And then there was a period of time, basically I'm 47. So my adult life, at least, there has been big changes that have, for big companies that are real around things like regulation of resources or how accessible we can get to certain resources, or making sure that it's not all about the money and it comes back into the communities where these companies are at. And now we're moving back into this phase where it feels like it's very corporate heavy and corporate benefit.
Yeah, you're right. Earlier times, when I started in business in the 70s, yeah, there was more regulation, A, and B, companies acted more responsibly. And today, there are fewer regulations, they more control government policy, and they don't, everything is about shareholder value. And what has gone down in that period of time over the last 50 years, corporate giving gone from 2% of net income in the 70s to 0.8%. Less than their customer service index has gone down. Their employee satisfaction index has gone down. And their CEOs were making 20 times the average worker in the 70s. Today, they're making 350 times more than their average worker in their company. Really hit it, really got, and I talk about this in our film.
Yeah.
And I use my life experiences and used to be in the CEO club to divulge what.
Do you have opinions or thoughts for those of us that are not big corporations of how we can do things in a positive, impactful way that doesn't strain our already strained resources?
Again, it's important to ensure that your company is having a product or service where there really is a need. There's a large enough addressable market, and that the competitors, that whatever you're doing, that you have a point of differentiation or point that make your offering better, a reason for people to switch. If that isn't the case, I don't care what you're doing, it's going to be a tough road to home. But if you meet that criteria, by the way, if you don't, that doesn't mean you can't tweak your current business in such a way that you are able to do it. So that would be the first couple of points.
Yep.
Then I think it's so important that these other stakeholders are treated well and there's a balance. Because when you treat your customers, they do more business. When you treat your teammates right, then they're going to go to bat for you. What I found when I switched after I had my wake-up call of divorce, cancer, and financial ruin, where I was about to go bankrupt, when I switched and became a leader that was not all profit focused and focused on all of those areas, incredible things happened. our profits went from 100,000 a year to 10 million a year. And kinds of incredible things began happening.
Feeling stuck? Like, what got you here won't get you there. The pressure to grow is on, yet the path isn't clear yet. You don't have to walk that path alone. This is the Bold Business Podcast. Like and subscribe wherever you listen. Your host, Jess Dewell, is the strategic partner you've been looking for, asking the questions that truly matter. It's time to break the inertia and get the perspective you need to make your next move.
In some ways, being small in a company feels challenging in a different way than a big company, but I actually think they're just a different scale. So we would shape the question differently. And when I heard you talking about you can make tweaks today to ensure the service that you are providing has the value add. Of course, it's a value add. Somebody is paying you for it, so they need it. So that's a value in and of itself. But that value add of, am I seeing you? I understand. We're going to have a transaction that has depth instead of, I'm going to use the example of getting gas. We don't talk to attendants at the gas station anymore. So that's just transaction. There's a gas station. I need gas. I go, I get my gas, and I move on. There are things in our world that are like that. Grocery stores do that too with self-checkout these days. But when we're in business, how can we do that to our capacity? And how do we balance the efficiency and the opportunity? Because I think grocery stores listened to their customers. I'd like to be in shorter lines, right?
Right.
We went from regular grocery lines to 10 items or less to self-checkout, right? There's evolution that is supportive, and then there's evolution that is opportunistic. How do we find that unique balance, which is what makes our companies unique in the first place?
How are you differentiating your other competitors?
Yeah.
And that can be various things, but you can make the experience more enjoyable and different. And when you do that, you're going to get credit for it. I told our teammates that if we have people have a good experience, but if they have an incredible experience, then they are definitely going to come back and they're going to say, man, did I have a neat experience? So good doesn't cut it. Incredible cuts it. And everyone needs to feel that. And they need to share with their teammates. Not to do that because we might make more money. Have that be part of your mission on the planet to every person that comes to us, that you're going to make it a better day for them. Yeah. That's why, I refer to the orientation. Every one of our 2,000 teammates. Your mission on the planet needs to be to help others, to make it a better day. If your mission on the planet was only to give pain to your birth mother and consume natural resources, it's not enough.
Okay, so what was the tipping point when you realized that? Because you said something that every time, I've heard you say it before in our conversations, but every time you say it, I'm so surprised. You had household disruption with divorce. You had physical disruption with cancer. You had financial disruption and actual ruin. And they were all happening despite making this incredible experience. So what went wrong for more?
I didn't provide an incredible experience before that.
Got it.
It was only after I experience those things. And when the therapy, spiritual reading, and learning from spiritual mentors, that I really, and that body work where they got through my washboard neck. And once I became a different human being, then I said, hey, I need to treat my teammates differently, our customers differently. And I knew that I had made a difference. One day at our company picnic, she came up to me and said, you really do care about us now.
Whoa!
And I knew that, okay, you're walking your talk. Because it's not about what I say. That, oh yeah, it's your day-to-day action.
And it was, my body can't do this anymore. You had to have the third one too and be like, oh, my money's in shambles too. The universe kept telling you and you kept ignoring.
Yeah.
Yeah?
To not wait to see those warning lights on your dashboard and say, you know what, my spouse and I we've been having some rocky time here. We need either a counselor, whatever, a 1-week retreat, or my employees, I sense they're unhappy, take a closer climate survey and to address those. Same with customers. So address them before you get cancer.
Yes.
Before you are in financial shambles.
I'm guessing there were clues before the big things happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so which means, by the way, wherever we are right now, we probably ought to start something. We probably ought to start something like self-awareness.
Yeah.
Am I hearing you right, Tom?
Yeah. Assess it. Be candid enough, honest enough to look at things, not through rose-colored glasses, but through what is actually happening. But that takes a level of honesty, of slowing life down, of looking at things honestly that many people currently don't have.
I can relate to the not slowing down part.
Deepak Chopra that was in our movie taught me when I went through that crisis with a Vader breath, Darth Vader.
Oh, yeah.
Slow everything down, and you can see things more clearly than we were rushing through.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I don't know if how about this? I'm sure I'm rushing, but I recognize time moves fast. And it's pretty cool to have that tip from Deepak Chopra. Also to have the tip, living it and saying, I can change the speed of the day. I can change the speed of this moment. In this moment where I have just created time because I paused with intention and took this breath, something can show up.
You hit it right on. And to show you how that occurred, I was consulting out on Tipper Door one morning, and I had brought Deepak in the night before. We had dinner, Alan, Tipper, Deepak and I. Deepak had to leave early that next morning, and in a consulting session, I was showing to Alan Tipper about slowing down, the Vader breath. And I said, did you notice Deepak, how he was doing that last night? They said, yeah, we thought he had asthma. I said, no, that was his beta breath.
Yeah. I love that. It's interesting. I appreciate that. And that I'm trying to experience that. Because there's some breathing that I learned, which is slightly different. And one is through your nose. Right? And that's powerful.
Yes.
But what you're doing is a third way that I haven't learned, which is the more of the, if you're doing it that Darth Vader style, I'm trying to feel up my body.
You go in your nose and mouth. And out your mouth.
Yeah.
So, you know what? There are subtle differences.
Yeah.
There are various ways to do it. And whatever's more comfortable for the individual.
And to recognize when you might be hyping yourself up. I know, like, for example, as a mother, and now I know myself because I learned this and then I saw it as a mom, and I'm like, oh, that happens to all of us. If I walk into a meeting and somebody's at the table and they look a little tense, and I try and have a conversation to assess what's going on before we start working on the meat of the conversation, and they do this, I'm like, oh, we got transformational energy. Okay. It may not have anything to do with us, but okay, we're here. So whether we like it or not, this meeting may be the place the transformation occurs. And it can be messy. Which is, and so I'm noticing, because if we can notice what the energy does in our body and how we feel it in our body, what you are describing is very different than what I just gave the example of. It's very settling. It's very grounding. It's very, I'm in my whole air pathway, which goes the majority of the length of my body, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have short, shallow breath. But when you deepen your breath and slow it down, the anxiety lowers.
Yes.
So that kind of breath, if your viewers can be aware of throughout the day. It doesn't have to be the extreme beta breath, but some type of deeper breathing is powerful in lowering their anxiety.
And I think is, in your experience, it is this way in mine. In your experience, when you do it before you reach higher levels of anxiety, you can help prevent said anxiety from showing up. Going back to your comment about the lights on the dashboard, don't wait until they come on. This is something that we could do right now to see more, feel more, experience more.
Yeah, that's it, but slight tweak.
Great.
You're going to see warning signals in your life.
Yeah.
They're there. So notice them, and rather than ignoring them, take action before they get more serious.
So talk to me about, are you a person who is always looking to the future and you're excited and you're rooted in what's coming? Or are you a person who is excited to build on what was in the past and keep bringing what was in the past forward in a new way?
I believe a lot in planning.
Yeah.
So I look at where I want to be. I do it annually, and I have a mission statement for my life, but annually. But then once I have that, then I look at what do I need to do daily, weekly, monthly, in order to get there. And once I have that, I begin doing that, and I'm in the present moment doing the things I know I need to do to get the reward that I'm hoping for in the future. And as far as bringing things forward, I bring learnings forward that have been serving me, and look at dropping the ones that I believe that aren't serving me well.
Do you, In self-forgiveness, with all of the things that you have been through and the way that they showed up in extreme forms in your life, do you forgive yourself for the things that ultimately, of course, these are the outcomes and the manifestations of a whole bunch of choices. Have you forgiven yourself for those things?
That is an outstanding question. And it's one of the things your viewers will get from the film. Because I divulge all of my flaws in the film. My former executive assistant was interviewed and in our film said, when Tom's wife would call and ask where he was, I knew, but I couldn't tell her. And that was very uncomfortable for me. So that and all kinds of other flaws that I revealed give people that I believe everyone has their light side and dark side. And the dark side often causes us to be stuck in shame and not able to move forward. So yes, I have definitely forgiven myself. But it's important not only to do that, but to engage in the new behavior. But forgiveness of myself and others is one of the key elements to life happiness. Gratitude is the other.
If your week feels like you're being pulled from one demand to the next, this is for you. The daily grind is the #1 killer of business instinct, pulling you and your team away from your vision. Reclaim your strategic edge with the Present Retreat. This free guide from Red Direction is a simple, powerful framework to carve out the space you need, to filter out the noise, make the right decisions, and lead with clarity.
I am a big proponent of gratitude, and it shows up in so many forms outside of thank you. I find gratitude in eye contact with strangers as I walk down the street. Somebody who's willing to look and see you as you're walking and be seen by you
Right.
is the most powerful way that I have found to
Amen.
get present in this world and be in this moment.
Amen.
Yeah. Huh. But it's a trip.
I love that.
Are there things you're still working on forgiving yourself for?
No, and I'm not like totally guilt-free, but it's very important. It's almost impossible to be in the present moment if we're feeling guilt about the past and fear about the future. So I try to let the guilt and the fear go so that I'm able to really be in the present moment.
I'm thinking about reflection time. You work very hard to be in the present moment, and planning is looking forward, and reflection or assessment is looking back. How much time do you spend looking back to bring into the present moment to understand what your learnings and your lessons are as you make your next plans?
First of all, you're an outstanding interview.
Oh, thank you.
Your questions are amazing. I quickly visit the past that would help me now. I don't linger there. I just quickly visit to help in the here and now.
Okay, so here's a question for those of us. Is that how you knew you had forgiven yourself enough to keep moving forward?
It's a feeling.
Okay.
And there are different gradations, different levels of that. And my guilt level now is very low. But that took a lot of work, long time. That's not a immediate thing. But I believe, now a lot of people don't believe in therapy, but if I have a tennis coach, if I have a tennis coach, why wouldn't it have been okay? I don't today have that, but for 7 or 8 years, I had an emotional and psychological coach.
Yes.
And they helped me unbelievably. So that is an important part. Spiritual reading, have a spiritual mentor, whether it's a priest, a pastor, a rabbi, a Zen master, have those 2 areas. Because before I hit my drinking wake-up call, I was playing with 2 players of the 4 players of who I am. I had that, but I did not have my spiritual player or my psychological player. They were not present. So I had to access them and have that be part of my 4-person team.
We're in a place where executives today, presidents, CEOs, all of the acronyms, it is more welcome today to have external support and to be open, honest, candid, and vulnerable with each other. Yet my sense in the work that I do, when I go into companies, I do not see it practiced.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
that type of honesty and openness and humanness is thought of as something in your personal life. In business, see, there's a saying, you be one person in business, another in your personal. I believe we need to be the same person in both. And that type of honesty and humanness and caring needs to be present in both areas of our life.
So we have to keep working to make that mainstream. I think that might be some of the work of our conversation today. Mainstream, be who we are, all of who we are in every part of our life. And if I were to take that one step further, recognize that the relationships we have in one part will be different because they're with different people in other parts. And the work for that relationship is a lot of effort, and it has a lot of powerful benefit when invested.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
No,
Yeah, please. Yeah.
That humanness means that rather than the C-suite, the executive leader, the CEO, the board, that they aren't looking down from on high that to our workers. They're down here and I am better than them. That is something, they don't say that, but you see it in their tone and their body language. And in my company, in our organization chart, the customer or guest, we call them, was on the top. I was on the bottom. And servant leadership is important. Now, this is maybe the most important tip I will give your viewers that are in management and leadership. that when I talk about servant leadership, I don't mean being a doormat and having your employees or teammates get whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
But the other end of that spectrum is being a dictator. So very few leaders have found that sweet spot between being a dictator and a doormat. And it took me years, but I found it. And I have a term for that. It's being warm-hearted and tough-minded. Warm-hearted, and I care about you. Your happiness and wellness is important to me, and I respect you as a human being. That said, you are responsible for your pledge to our team to accomplish things that you have committed to do. So I will hold you responsible for that. Serve them incredibly well.
So tell me, Tom, what makes it bold to break the current expectation of what a CEO means and change that rule to be warm-hearted and tough-minded?
What does it take for them to change to be warm-hearted and tough-minded?
Yeah, what's the bold step to do that?
The bold step is what I mentioned earlier. It's important enough to repeat. To look at what your flaws are. Not to shame yourself, but to assess them in a scientific and honest look. And then where they are, if that is emotional and psychological, get a therapist to help you with that. When I went there, I thought, I'll go in for a few weeks, find out what everybody else is doing wrong. And I found out, wow, 7 years later, as I got my doctorate degree in emotional health. And same way with spirit. Is your spiritual work going to church every Sunday and to get forgiveness for what you did last week and ask for forgiveness for what you're about to do next week? Or is it deeper to where you're seeing everyone around you, smiling at them, as you mentioned? Yeah. So they need to look at that type of stuff. My body, those are the steps they need to take to be able to begin down the path of being real, authentic, and human beings, human becoming in their lives.
And that brings us to the close of another powerful and fresh perspective on the Bold Business Podcast. In today's volatile landscape, growth is a double-edged sword. To truly thrive, you must engage with your strategy, not just react to the day-to-day. Without absolute alignment, your company faces a stark choice: outmaneuver or be outmaneuvered, grow or get left behind. Thank you for listening, and a special thanks to the Scott Treatment for technical production.